Hi, aloha kahiaka kako. Aloha. So as my kumu, Dr. Keiki Kawai really encouraged us to do so, to really start to think about the things that are being shared and take it not only from the lahui level, organizational level, but down into the personal level. So Judy and I this morning wanted to also encourage all of you to visit our wall of commitment. Ikua nakapaya. So from last year's summit, we had participants write up their own personal commitments. You know, maybe it's, I'm gonna speak a little bit more Olelo Hawaii with my colleagues. I'm going to spend more time with my own kupuna, and maybe I'm going to interview he or her to promote that legacy in my own families. Whatever it is, whatever that you do, or whatever that you're thinking of doing, we encourage you to write it down. Write it on cards and place it on that wall of commitment, yeah? So that we can all celebrate our collective success and impact together. So this morning, for our panel, it's all around measuring success. We as educators know that a lot of the tough, hard work gets to how do you know you're successful? How do you know your students are learning? How do you know that they're growing? Okay, so the next panelists are gonna share their insights in terms of the work that they do to measure our success going forward, our strengths and areas that we can improve as well. So first off, a native son sheltered by Ka'ala, refreshed by the Kaiaulu winds. He's a practitioner of kakau. He's a celebrated musician. His band is known as Pili Oha. And he's doing really important work on all of our behalf, especially the kids of our Kula Kaiapuni, in launching a pilot, a Kula Kaiapuni Hawaiian Language Assessment pilot for grades 3 and 4. It's really intended to more appropriately assess what's actually happening in our classrooms through a Kaiapuni lens and context. Kalehua Krug. Aloha, brother. Next off, we have a native daughter of Kaua Kanilehua in the lands of Pelema. She's known for her work as a kia'i loko at Haleolono. It's a loko iakuapa on the island of Hawaii. And over the past 16 years, my dear friend, Hawaiian practitioner, Hawaiian researcher, Hawaiian scholar, has developed a very effective local curriculum that's being utilized not only by her homeschool, Ka'umeke Ka'el, but she's coming up with her team a curriculum, an instructional approach to support any educator in Hawaii to come up with curriculum and assessments that are place-based, that advance the aspirations, the knowledge, the skill sets of people from their places. In addition to being a local practitioner, Roxanne is also a kia'i kanaloa, working with our kanaloa who are in distress. Roxanne holds a bachelor's degree in marine science and a master's degree in marine resource monitoring and education. What I want to also add, these two individuals and all of our panelists this morning are at the forefront of pushing those in the mainstream. And they do it in a way where they're coming up with their own tools and own approaches to validate what we value, not applying other folks' means to validate our own success. These folks are on the line, they're having those hard conversations, and they're doing it in a very kanaka way. So aloha to Roxanne Stewart.
Aloha mai kako. I am so happy to introduce the next two panel speakers. The first one, Dr. Sylvia Hussey. When I think of the word awesomeness, I always think of her. But I also add on smartness. She is very smart. She's the woman that I call whenever I need big picture thinking, and she actually draws out what I'm thinking. So I just did that about a month ago. Sylvia has been involved in education for over 20 years, and as she will tell people, she actually started out as a bean counter, as an accountant, as an auditor, and really looking at numbers. And it wasn't until Kamehameha Schools about 10 years ago saw her talent and her strengths and asked her to come over to Kamehameha Schools that she became involved in the world of education. And we have been so much more brighter, smarter, and happier for that. I'd like to introduce Dr. Sylvia Hussey to the stage. Her current work right now is the Native Hawaiian Education Council Director. It's a big one. The council is going through much changes right now. And again, Kuleana has found her and put her in the right place at the right time. She will continue to look at Native Hawaiian assessment in a very different lens. And I think for many of us who have been involved in the council, has just been so inspired by the growth that she has shown in the past couple of months. So again, Dr. Sylvia Hussey, welcome to the stage. Okay, and my next friend, as Mehana said, if I was queen, my king would be Kihe Nahalea. I would just pull him and make him be my king. And then really in all queenness, I could just tell him what to do, which I do all the time. So Kihe actually has 25 years of education in Hawaiian circles. He started out in Kulakaiopuni in Waimea. He went on to Hawaii Community College and the Hawaiian Lifestyles program, where I really got to see his work in action and really got to see what Native Hawaiian success and Native Hawaiian assessment looked like. He decided to get away from the institution. Many of us were so sad, which is why I keep pulling him back in. But he is now currently the director of the Papahana Kuaola Kupu Alau program. He is a living and breathing success of Native Hawaiian education. And this is when I was telling my husband last night, what can I say about Kihe? You guys have to hear what he said. Kihe has an intimate understanding of putting Native Hawaiian success into practice. I was like, wow, that's deep. So again, my love and aloha to both of you, and welcome to the stage. Okay, are we ready? The first question we want you to think about and share today is, first, in terms of how to tell the story of Native Hawaiian success, what do we mean when we talk about successful qualities of a successful Native Hawaiian? So how do we tell the story of Native Hawaiian success? What do we mean when we talk about the successful qualities of a successful Native Hawaiian? Do we want to go by oldest to youngest, or or youngest to oldest, or Junkin Paul, or Kihe really talk because he's gonna be my king. So Kihe, you gotta go on first.
Okay. I was just ready to say ditto. Vilina mai me ke aloha e na kanaka uivi. Na kanaka aloha aina, aloha mai kako. Yeah, Native Hawaiian success. If you can recognize your kupuna in what you do, if you can recognize and you can see aloha aina in what you do, and there's so many different ways we express that in different groups and in different styles of expression. I think for me personally, the thing that has kind of given me grounding in trying to assess this thing about success or a successful thing for our people has come out of the mana'o from the Kumulipo. Kapukala alo kama never never, kapukahaloa kuma kapea. Kanu ya haloa ulu hahaloa, o ka lau o haloa I kiaula puka. Yeah, so, and I don't, that was introduced to me by my kumus when we were looking at Kumulipo. And I had the Jerry Maguire moment, waking up in the middle of the night, trying to look at what that meant and not understanding it and trying to go back to the class and not look dumb in front of Auntie Pua. And, but I had this feeling of all of the collective experiences I've had. I'm ultimately the non-traditional student. It's amazing that I graduated from Kamehameha because every year I tested the limits of their patience with me over here. But I did get the degree. But I wouldn't necessarily say I took advantage of the opportunities that was being given. And to roll back a little bit, and it was such a pressure put on by my family. Not intentional, but it was pressure to all my family went to Kamehameha. So it was almost expected, I gotta go Kamehameha. So when I never get accepted in 7th grade, when my brother got the big packet and I got the small letter in the mail, I had drama. That was an indicator of not success, right? At that time. I mean, for my family, it was like, poor thing, and, does it mean you're not good, Kihe? Does it mean you're not smart? No, it means I'm junk, right? And my brother is smart. And if you know my brother, yeah, that's pretty much how it went. And then they said, we're going to put you on we're going to try to see how you do next year, and then we'll reconsider you for 8th grade. So I never did work so hard in my life at school. I wouldn't go play recess. I would stay in the library, I would study, and I would try to get real good grades. And I got 3.6, and I was like, wow, that's the best I ever did in my life. I was thinking, maybe they come in and take me now, and I never get on call. And I remember I was in paper boy, so I remember my brother leaving that day to go to school, and I had to go deliver newspapers, and I was full ball crying. I'm not good. I am not a smart Hawaiian. Here's your paper. All upon I ever knew my drama. And it's so funny, but I remember coming back home, and my mom and dad, they worked, so I was home by myself, and then the phone rings, and that back in the day, that was the kind of dial kind of, yeah. So brrrr, kapalulu, yeah. And so I was like, okay. So I figured, hello. Hi, this is so and so from the Kamehameha schools, and I'm looking for Mr. Nahalea. Oh, he's still at work. Oh, how about your mother? Oh, she's still at work. Well, I'm calling to say that Emerson Nahalea, we want to let him know that a space opened up for him, and I to accept him into 8th grade at Kamehameha. And I was like, huh? For real? You for real? Yeah? Okay. Well, they're not home. Okay, well, can you take down my number and give it to them? Okay. So waiting by the door for my parents to come. Mom, Dad, I got accepted to Kamehameha. Kie. It's okay. I'm not making any of this up. This is the exact truth. Look, for real. Here's the number. It's the lady's name. Calling for my parents, like, for real? But it's so funny because I was so excited to go. But then when I got there, I was so overwhelmed. I was so intimidated. That although I totally have a lot of aloha for Kamehameha, I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared for what happened. It was intense. I mean, competitive. And, I never have the nice clothes. We never have nice clothes. It was always a sense of that. I was always assessing myself in the wrong way. So I always looked at as not having the same. And so that was a really bad thing to have growing up. All the way till I graduated, going into college, is not feeling makaukau or worthy. All kind of issues, all kind of reasons. But so for me, it took a really big turn. And for that turn, there was a Hawaiian language program at UH Hilo. Shucks. I'm not gonna do it.
It's okay. I can come hug you if you need.
Yeah. That's when I need my queen. I need some comfort.
That's really bad for you to say that.
Anyway, I know nothing else. Okay, so anyway, I'm gonna shorten this up.
Okay, we're gonna pass the mic now.
Wait, you're running, guys, cutting into my time. Okay. So the ultimate thing was when I went to UH Hilo, it wasn't only the language program, but it was the need to understand who you are and where you come from. And so I have a lot of mahalo and aloha for Kaunoi Kamana, who you're gonna hear talk today, who waking that up with me and actually let me know that my kupuna is with me every step of the way. And if I had more time, or if you like no, I tell you on the side, you can buy me lunch and I tell you the story. But I tell you, those are some of the ultimate things is to know as a Hawaiian, you're never alone, whether you like it or not. And to me, that's the thing. If you can recognize your kupuna in what you do, if you can see the aloha aina in what you do, then that's a really great success indicator. Maybe I'll just stop right there for now. Okay.
Yeah. Why don't you pick?
You know, just because we family. Yeah. Hard to follow. The Kihei Nahalea one-man show can be seen every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Beach Park. Aloha. Kihei brings up a lot of things where, as we grew up, it was a different standard, I think, in how we looked at ourselves. And one measure of success is everybody that we're looking at right now. The fact that there's so many Native Hawaiians in this field, I think is very critical for our students to see, our Native Hawaiian students to see. We always look for that image of what can I be, what can I push myself to become. And sometimes all that student has is that teacher in the classroom. They don't have the family, the community that some of us grew up with, or some of them don't have that push from their family. As evidenced in a recent BLNR hearing where somebody just said that, no, he's not gonna be that. Anyway, we cannot be shortchanging our kids in that manner. And we did it to ourselves, because similarly to what Kihei experienced, I did when I went into marine science, and I was one chocolate chip in a Howley brownie. Like there was nothing. And this is UH Hilo, okay? So, and at that time, it was the biggest major in UH Hilo. It blew away Hawaiian studies in terms of how many majors. How many Hawaiians? Me and one more. So it was a very intimidating surrounding, and it's very easy in that kind of surrounding to sway away from what we know and what we're confident in and what can contribute to our success. So the further away I swam from knowing the excellence of our marine practitioners, the more struggle I had. I let that play the mind games. And so when I became a teacher, I kind of made it my mission to make sure that our students never felt like that. And that comes from establishing high standards in the beginning, I think, because we often look at what the mainland is doing and what these guys are doing and what Japan and all these other countries, but they may be at that level and that's great for them, but they're missing a lot of what we have in our Hawaiian education that cannot be duplicated anywhere else. And we cannot use anybody else's carbon copy to try and implement here. And I'm always known as the real strict teacher. No nonsense, you fool around in Kumaraxi's class kind of thing. But I think that in what we do at the Lokoi'a, it's imperative that I set boundaries and I trust my students to know what they need to do so that we can get rid of all that nonsense and get down to the skill building. And one of the challenges as Kumu is how do we see success or the lack thereof? We see it in a spreadsheet. We see it in the printouts. And we don't see the product oftentimes of our investment. We don't see the payback at the end, because the students go on, and we're lucky if we run into them at KTA and then they can tell us, that is the true measure that we're missing, I think, in a lot of our educational context in measuring success, because that printout, those numbers, is often a one-shot kind of thing that measures this much. But when we see what our students become and what their passion is, what they strive to be, that really shows the measurement of the collective success of all of their kumus. And that is totally underrated in our educational system. But when we see those students, and I think every single teacher has had that, where they come and they want to introduce you to their wife or their son or something like that because you made an impact in their life and you made it possible for them to be a successful father. Or kumu, I'm coming to give you my graduation announcement from UH Hilo. This just happened to me this summer. When they come with that, that what you have invested, the money you invested, the money the next kumu invested, has produced dividends of immeasurable proportion. But none of that is taken into consideration when we look at evaluating the success of schools and teachers. But it's these people that are now coming into the arenas from all branches, whether it's you're going to raise your child with Aloha Aina in mind, even though you didn't have it, whether you're going to go and you're going to become the botanist that looks at all of the eha of the ohia. We have all of our students that are now here in these key positions that are because of our successes collectively as Native Hawaiian educators. And if we can begin to look at how do we bring that data set in, then we get a true picture, a better picture of how our efforts pay off in the end, rather than looking at one little snapshot. Not to say that that's not important to look at, but I think we're missing a big piece of data when we're analyzing this whole massive machine of the education system, where we look at the process more than we look at the product. And a lot of times the process is like this, just like your 501k. Hello, the bug said, But if you measure the success of your 501k handler person on that one thing, then you're not going to be able to see the rise in the next one. And that's what we're looking at. We're just looking at the piecemeal things and not looking at the end product, which is this Hawaiian that is educated, that knows who he or she is, that has the passion, has the drive to go and infiltrate and perpetuate. That's gonna be a t-shirt coming soon, yeah? Infiltrate and perpetuate. I tell that to all my students because we need to have that mentality if we're going to start to change the system that we live in. We need you doctors, we need you lawyers, we need you person sitting on the BLNR to take that donkey off. We need this guy over here with our nurses. We need our people managing our own lands. And that comes with pala pala, but that cannot be an intimidating factor. So the high school diploma, which may have been, right on, in the day, is no longer lava. So for our students, we have to push the PhD is lava and have them not be afraid of that and teach them the elements of rigor, the elements of struggle. Because I wasn't the smartest student and I struggled, but I think the self-discipline that I had and the support from my family helped me push through that. But I don't think our students know how to push through struggle enough. And so when they hit a struggle, apau. And that's where we look at success. And educators, we often only hear the negative. But for every student that approaches you at KTA, there's dozens, 10s, 20s, 30s more that are in that situation that we collectively helped produce. And unfortunately, that's not a value in other systems. But for us, from the cultural lens, that's That's the value, yeah, because that's the new liko that's going to blossom into something else. And so when we see that, that's success. Yeah. Oy, vale.
Mahalo.
Tag Dr.
Tag.
Crook. See, Dr.
Oh, so
Crook.
good this
Hello.
group. You guys just facilitating yourself. Awesome. This is an indicator of Native Hawaiian success. You just go.
Judy, she slapped my arm, Judy.
It's okay. We're gonna have our ho'oponopono instead of timeout.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll go
much
hug
better.
afterwards.
Just
Okay.
keep some poo-poo on the table, we'll be fine.
You get,
Secret.
it's all vodka right there. It's not water. Yeah, aloha kakaya kakaku.
Hello.
So I'm gonna add on to what Roxy was saying, because I think as we move into the future, because I mean the concept that I see for success is the relationship between individual success and collective success, and that's something that's really important to me. And I think it comes from many of our ohana that we were raised in, and then the ohana that we are raising right now. I mean, it's making sure that we don't let kids feel like how Kie felt about anything. You know, that every all our kids in our family, all our people in our family get value and get worth. And so basically, how she was talking about getting to a place where we're on boards of education, you know, controlling our lands. It's also about envisioning as we go through our process, envisioning past the process. That as we get to one day, we will have our nation, and we have to see that because we're not going to be here forever. But the kids who are in the wombs of their mothers right now, waiting to be born, they're gonna be in this world, and they're gonna see things differently than we do. And so as they conceptualize the future and they walk through the future that we're trying to envision, our success has to be visionary. So we can't be stuck in the now. So we can't, the now is we need PhDs. But I'll be honest with you, I don't find that to be my determiner of success. I go through that process to get a PhD to enhance the future so that maybe one day no need PhD. Because a PhD is a limit and a palena that is set by someone outside of us. But I'm not saying don't do it. I actually saying do it because it's a transition. It's definitely a transition. So we have to go and do these things. And so I think part of that transition and the vision for our future is as we get into the spaces with these degrees that are necessary in this space and time, I understand that there's a different space and time coming, that we need to make room for people without degrees who possess immense masses of knowledge that that aren't validated by Amelikama. And so that to me is the part about success, that collective success, because I can list off people right now that are going to get choked up, you know, because I know one guy in particular that should be teaching hundreds of kids, but he can't because he has no degree. He's a landscaper. And so my job and one of my responsibilities in life you're never going to see on my work contract is to make room for him, to get him in front of Hawaiian kids, because he knows I'a, he knows Kalo, he knows mountains like you wouldn't believe, you know, and his bones are iron. I felt them. But the existence of that one Hawaiian to me reminds me every day that I need to use what I have, because I don't have what he has, but I get something that just particularly and happens to be validated in today's society. But it's to make room for that guy and his ohana and the children that come up like that, because if we don't, they will die off. And so that to me is that indicator of success, that we don't lose people like that and they don't fall between the cracks. And it's not just a school thing, it's a societal thing. So for me, that's the indicator.
You know, I should have known better. I should have gone first because hard now. It's like deep and profound, and I had all my notes, like, you know, my good accountant training, right? I had my notes, I had everything, and then blow away by these guys. So gonna free form, freelance, and go back to where all of us have gone, which is our foundation. And when we talk about success, my whole life has been about apologizing, until now, apologizing for being a public school graduate, or from Kohala, or from the neighbor island, or who have parents who didn't have high school degrees. And it hasn't been until now that I have found how rich and how valuable and how foundational that upbringing has been, and has given me the strength. So as I sit here in a new role at as the executive director at the Native Hawaiian Education Council, and to take our voice to places like Wakinikona in Washington, D.C., and to take to places to people who don't understand, success for us is defined by what we believe, what we value, and therefore what we invest in. What we believe comes from our kupuna. We're always thinking about what came from the past, what Ike came from the past, how we apply. I love that about Hawaiians. We're always applying, working. Our language is about the emphasis on verb and action. And then we're always thinking, it's not enough just to get the palapala. What are we gonna do with that? And what do we do to perpetuate? So I love that our culture already defines how our foundation from our past, our ike, our kupuna, how we apply, and then what we give to perpetuate. Because we need to be here forever. We need to have our practices. So at the council, while we may frame our work in the education terms, Western terms of assessment and evaluation, the council's work is about giving voice and amplifying what we believe, what we value, and therefore what we invest in. We know that the United States Department of Education, which funds the council and funds many great Native Hawaiian education programs, have their definitions of success. And their definitions of success are very narrow and very point in time. So like Roxy says, if you're going to hire or fire your 401k manager on the day the market drops, you have missed that opportunity to see the successes of the market when it goes back up. Same thing. Our perspectives cannot just be this. Our perspectives have to be much longer, and our perspectives have to be cross-dimension. So we cannot just have our perspective for this day, this school year, and we cannot have perspectives of just what we can see and sense with our five senses, right? We have to honor the ability to sense what is in our na'au, our intuition, and our feelings and impressions, and give validation to qualitative sensing as well as quantitative. So I think I'm answering the second question, which is good, because then I'll go first. And I'll have the pressure of like awesome people. So I'm just gonna know the second question, which is, because I went cheat and I went look at the. So the second question is, because
Vicky.
we
Okay.
just saw awesome.
I can read for you.
Okay.
So when you're supporting the growth of Native Hawaiians, what are you looking for in terms of how to try that growth? And I'd like to put out a challenge. Please describe and how we would chart out this growth with one example.
Excuse me.
Oh, throw me off. Okay. That wasn't on my notes.
Sylvia,
Okay.
you're first.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
You can create a challenge, you know. You can create
I
a
know.
challenge.
I'm just gonna be first so that. So charting growth, for sure, what you can see and what you cannot see, right? Quantitative things that you can do from our hard data, right? We all say, gotta be data driven. Well, quantitative data, awesome, but quantitative data without the qualitative unseen. Data points that come from intuition again, data points that come from knowledge, data points that come from qualitative sources and assessments are just as important to chart growth. So I would say that one example that perhaps is not given as much recognition as a valid is starting with identity. In order to be able to progress in any realm, you have to know who you are. You have to know who you are, where you come from, what your missions in life, what your not accomplishments, but where you're going. But in order to know where you're going, you have to know who you are, from not only personally, but as your family, as an institution, and your community. So I would say that identity, and people, perhaps poo-poo that kind of like, oh yeah, identity. What is that? But we know that knowing who you are is an extremely important foundational measure for growth, because it is the pa'a and the foundation that even if you have growth in other areas, that underlying foundation of identity, if it's not there and things are built on top of it, will not be able to sustain the kinds of pressures that come when your Ike starts to build and grow. And that if that foundation is not there in identity and who you are, that things will crumble and things will be undermined and things will fall apart.
Aika ika makani o kohala, eh? Making close out, because I know I introduced this whole thing about the kumulipo and I never really talked about my drama. But it makes sense to me because it's all that process that got me to my calling. And I don't think my job is to work with the Ailolo or the Puka Makalolo. That's not, to me, that's not my calling. My calling is for work with the people who, to me, who I feel is the majority of our people, that still feel disconnected, that still feel uncertain about the kahua pa'a. And I think we made huge strides and growths. And I think my job is to get them ready to be in front of the o'olea and the pihede, and for make them understand that that's your space, nobody else's space. You go get that space, you be in front of that kumu. And so I think that's super serious. So in a sense of assessment, go back to the kumulipo, there's a specific line, and the way I interpret it is kanuya haloa, ulu hahaloa. And so that action is the key. Kanuya haloa, plant haloa, ulu hahaloa, so that his growth, and that the growth is just abundant. And I look at that as I identify that as my what I stay focused on whenever I work with people, is that you gotta keep doing the work. And to me, that's the people I wanna work with. And so when I look at a lot of people I'm working with, I see a lot of questions in their eyes and their feelings. And I'm gonna tell you one story about a group of kids that came to work with up at our place. Okay, thanks. So the story is the kids came, it was about 10th grade, there was a science class, there was Hawaiians. And so they asked me to talk about water. So I said, well, okay, we'll do Waiakane. So I did Waiakane, and I talked about Waiakane and its relationship, not only to the honua, but to the space we directly in. And so I did that only, and I said, did any of you guys recognize any of the words or the things I was doing? And one kid, that's when he lit up. He said, oh, Anakala, you had mentioned this and this, and you was pointing and referencing these spaces in your place that was about what you was talking about. And I was about to give him praise. And all the other kids in turn on him said, oh, sorry, Hawaiian. Oh, Kanaka Maoli. Anakala, he immersion, that's why. I was like, oh. I felt like I got the golden ticket to just light them up. Oh, right, it's on. And I was just gonna go. And I honest, I felt this thing touch my shoulder and lean into my ear and said, don't do it. Don't do it. And so something came over there and I said, okay, Tutu. And I turned to the teacher and I said, you guys gotta come here more often. That was the problem. That they're disconnected. They're disconnected from the thing. We can read about it, we can discuss it, but we gotta do it. And so the way we do it and the way we assess the doing is that we was given all of these things. And I learned this from my kupuna, I learned this from my friends. So we all do this. The first thing we tell the kids, why Hawaiians is so special is because we were trained throughout generations for use our na'au as part of our assessment. Na'au is number one. Na'au take you to the source. And that's, if you want to call that self-assessment, sure, go ahead. Your na'au, your vailua, you got to check with yourself. And if you're not happy with what you're doing, if you kanalua about showing what you did, then it ain't good enough. You got to be ha'aheo about what you're putting out. And if right there you stay kanalua, then go back and check yourself. And we got to train our kids into that understanding that you better be proud of what you do and don't be afraid of that. So to me, that's my hard work right there. That's where I want to be. But I think, and I use these words because I don't want to use halal words because I think halal is a whole different animal from what we do. I don't think we can equate halal to what we do. I think it's a whole different standards and a whole different, we no more choice. We cannot really kick kids out or people out that are not worthy of our learning, you know. And actually, that's a good thing. Say, you know what, you don't belong here. Move on. And I do that with love, not with ho'okano or meanness. I do that because this is not your space. Go find your space because you're wasting everybody's time, especially yours. But the thing is, we have this thing. We have na'au, we have paka, we have peer assessment. You gotta trust the people you're working with for tell you that what you're doing is good or junk. And you gotta be able for kole and kuka and payo manao about that. And don't go ask somebody you think is below you. Ask you're equal or more. And if they're like, oh, you can check my mele. Oh, you think you with me? Yeah, I do. You gotta have that. And so you gotta paka. And to me, maybe I use paka a little bit differently, but I don't really feel like I would take my mele go ask my kumu for paka my mele. That's me. People use them differently, but for me, that's my process. To me, if I'm gonna take the mele to my kumu, I asking him for loy, and I giving him mana. I stay ho'o mana my kumu. So he loy my mele. Loy. And we tell you, oh, I like that word, but change that word. Oh, that's the word. I mean, that's my favorite word. Change the word. Okay, kumu. I change the word. I change them. And that's the respect I give my kumu. Because if my kumu tell me change them, even though that's the one thing I would just covet. He's telling you something. If you want it to be about me and through me, then honor me and do what I do. So after that, after the loy, then it's all about ho'ike. You should never be hila about ho'ike. Because you went through that process of self, peer, and teacher review. And if you went through that, Hawaiians, we just ho'ike vale. And ho'ike kadnani. Okako.
So we're just going to start to wrap up with one example of how we chart our growth. Mahalo, palala. No, yeah.
I'll take the example that we're using at Ka'umeke Ka'eo. So we're implementing Papaku Makavalu K-12, well, next year pre-K to 12, and looking at how do we implement that methodology and how do we measure growth. And from a quantitative perspective, if you're going to measure growth, you're going to use a line graph, right? Because the line is perpetual. So if we look at that kind of same ideology with measuring the growth of our students, in that it's not pull over here, it's keep going, it's an on and on and on and on kind of thing. We've had to really look at how do we assess that kind of movement back and forth. And it's been a challenge. We just piloted a first grade and fifth grade competency assessment for Papaku Makavalu, which came from me telling the kumus, these are the expectations that we have. These are the GLOs that the kumus came up with, K to 12. Now, take out all of the things that maybe we know can, that whole thing of we cannot do that or that's too hard. Take all of that out. What is the dream to assess that? And let's start from there. And it became a battery of assessments, and it took me 2 months to just assess all of the 1st and 5th grade. But when we're looking at the data, which I just finished processing yesterday, holy moly, it's giving us a lot of indications about where growth is and how to look differently at growth, because it's not just here or here or here. We're looking at it just like from the Makavalu lens, from a lot of different angles. But then it's about how can that teacher use that information in the classroom. And when we're looking at growth, and this is specifically, I think, my challenge to the administrators, is that we need to create an environment where teachers can safely and honestly evaluate student growth. Because a lot of times we're fearful of, oh, well, if I don't show growth here, then here's this consequence. Rather than, okay, this is actually what's happening now, how do we make it better? So it's a different perception, and a lot of times in the school system, there's the pressure to not show the actuality of the growth because of X, Y, and Z consequence. But I applaud our teachers at Kaomeke because they truly looked at growth and looked at areas of weakness, both instructionally, curricularly, all of that kind of stuff. And they ho'iked in front of people like Antipua, the Papaku Makavalu team, and it was live streamed in a symposium to show what they're doing, how they're implementing, how they assessed, and really looking at whether students' growth was significant or not. And when we can honestly look at that perspective as Kumus and as a school, that's when we're really gonna be able to analyze growth and figure out a way to make it even more bountiful. But if teachers are not feeling safe enough to do that, then that's where we get just the facade of what we think growth is. So the Kumu Symposium is available online, I think through the Kama'aha Education Initiative website. But it's Kumu's really looking at that mirror, looking at reflection of practice and assessment and progress. And that's becoming the template that we're gonna start to use more so as in Kaomeke as we expand out. But progress is not finite. And so we need to adjust our measurement tools. And mahalo for our brother over here, because we talked story earlier in the year on this assessment piece, and being able to reach out to one another and really look at, okay, coming back to center, or thinking of it from this angle. But it's really reinventing the way that we assess. And Western will always change with the next big thing, or the next person that has the better pitch to all the higher ups, right? But the reinvention on our side is actually going backwards and looking at how our practitioners were reared and how you anu'u in those kinds of practices. And we kind of align it now, but reinventing it so that it takes the place of all these other Western assessments that, again, will only show the facade of the actual growth. So that's what we're doing at Kaomeke. It's a lot of work. But if we're truly gonna ask the question, are our students learning, we gotta put the work in, and we gotta not be afraid of what the results show. Yeah. Oye, vale.
Okay, so don't get mad at me. I'm gonna keep them short, but yeah, Kalamai, I'm real short. So as far as success indicators goes, I think today you guys are gonna go into breakout rooms, and it's because one of the things that I try and do for myself, again, because I like challenging the teachers that I help to prepare in questioning our na'au, because through colonization. I know 100% believe in myself, you know, in where my decisions coming from. So I always try to challenge them and find other sources of ways to check it, you know. And if you can find, you know, there's research, you have triangulation, so you can find multiple sources, which is what as far as assessment goes, that's how I think we're going to track success. If you can find multiple places to corroborate what you're not always telling you to do, then that's the golden ticket. But please, the questioning of the indicator for this time and space is super important for that visionary future. And so an example of that is just going to be that as we prepare teachers, we tell them that instead of using just test scores, because test scores, I'm not against testing. I'm against how the data is used, who develops the tests, where the information is going, and how it affects instruction, which it kind of doesn't. So test scores is one data set to use, but there are other forms. As teachers, the example is put on your researcher hat and go talk to your children. Go talk to the ohana. Don't bring in the families to a parent-teacher conference and tell them your kid doesn't do this, your kid does this. Ask them, hey, how do you feel your child's spatial sense is? How do you feel your child's quantitative sense is? Don't just trust that you're the only measure. Ask the fam. And if you want to take it even further, go into the neighborhood, go talk to neighbors, go talk to other people, and it's kind of difficult to go that far. But I think as we move down this assessment pathway, we're going to need more information from different points in time. And so it's not just one linear track. It's multiple tracks to reinforce and reaffirm one understanding. Mahalo.
Ai mahalo nui ya oko pakai no ka anana na mana o ka ike e olu e noho olu mana I. We're going to transition now into our keynote with Dr. Nolan Malone, and before we bring him on, just a couple words that really stood out. Na'o, ho'ike, analyze growth. Progress is not finite. Persistence. Validation is a process. An assessment is a process. I think there's many things that were discussed and that were brought to light and illuminated. One thing that really grabbed me was that you folks, through your story sharing and reflections, not only did you talk about the individual experience and individual points of reference of success and well-being and productivity, but you helped connect it to the collective, collective inspiration, collective success, collective advancement and progress. No laila, mahalo.